Hi, the recent video I made about why not to use black magic went down quite well, and a lot of people are concerned about black magic. The division of black and white may not be entirely clear. Basically, if you're doing a lot of harm to somebody, then this is black magic. But I'd like to point out that nobody said you didn't have a right to defend yourself. And so I wanted to do a spell which I would call white magic, some might call it grey magic, and it's to deter someone from causing you harm. And when you're in that position, do you fight back, do you retaliate, or do you protect yourself? Well, I'm of the mind that you have a right to protect yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a spell now which involves 4 Thieves Vinegar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some 4 Thieves Vinegar. I can't say that. 4 Thieves Vinegar. And the tradition of 4 Thieves Vinegar is that it was used during the plague by thieves who went around and robbed people's houses and didn't actually ever catch the plague. And the tale goes that they got away, once they were finally caught, they got their freedom and got away with not being hanged by passing on the secret of how they hadn't caught the plague. And what it was they'd made a vinegar mixture, and the vinegar mixture was apple cider vinegar and garlic were the main ingredients, and then there were at least 4 that the story goes that each robber contributed 1 ingredient to the mix. And the possible ingredients could be any black or red pepper, cayenne or chili pepper, coriander, rue, mint, wormwoods, or what I'm going to use, rosemary, sage, lavender and thyme. And these are protective herbs, they're antiviral herbs, and they were all put together in a jar. I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. And vinegar was added to it, and then they were left to sit for a while.
I'm trying to tell you something about my life. Maybe give me insight between black and white. And the best thing you've ever done for me is to help me take my life less seriously. It's only life after all. Well, darkness has a hunger that's insatiable, and lightness has a call that's hard to hear. I wrap my fear around me like a blanket. I sailed my ship of safety till I sank it. I'm crawling on your shores. And I went to the doctor, I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source for some definitive, closer I am to find. Closer I am to find. Well, I went to see the doctor of philosophy with a poster of Rasputin and a beard down to his knees. He never did marry or see a B-grade movie. He graded my performance. He said he could see through me. I spent 4 years prostrate to the higher mind, got my paper and I was free. And I went to the doctor, I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source for some definitive, closer I am to find. Closer I am to find.
So the spell I am going to use, you can use 4 Thieves Vinegar, or you could use any kind of vinegar or any kind of lemon juice. But the idea is not to hex or curse somebody. The idea here is to sour somebody's evil intent towards you. So what you're doing is self-defense rather than a spiteful retaliation. So First of all, the basic ingredients are garlic, apple cider vinegar, which I've got to pick up, so I'm going to get that in a minute. And then I've gone and picked these herbs from my garden. And here, all over my table, I have thyme, lavender, sage and rosemary. And the idea is you want enough to fill a jar, maybe 3/4 of the way full, and then you top it up with the cider. So okay, I'm going to use apple cider vinegar, but you can use red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar. You can even use normal vinegar, and as I say, the vinegar itself is the souring content. So if you haven't got time to wait 3 weeks, 6 weeks for the full Thieves Vinegar to work, to brew and to strain it off, you can always just use plain vinegar. So first I'm going to make some full Thieves Vinegar, and for this I'm going to use 4 cloves of garlic and some apple cider vinegar. They are the basics. And of course garlic is a very healing herb, so as you do this you might want to think of the properties of each ingredient as you add it. And by the way, I've just sterilised this jar. I didn't have a lot of time, so I just washed it in hot water and put 1/2 teaspoon of bleach in the water. And so I know that all this has been sterilised, so it's not going to form any moulds. You fill the jar up, stuffing all that in there. Maybe if you had dried herbs you could chop it, you could grind it, and as you're grinding it you can infuse the potion with your intent. And I'm doing this on a new moon. I am doing this to increase the protection around me. You could do it on a waning moon, in which case you're decreasing the threat to you. So you could grind herbs clockwise to increase their beneficial elements, or you could grind them anti-clockwise while decreasing any malevolent or evil intentions towards you. So I'm just going to push those all in. I'm going to add, it says the best apple cider vinegar, but I got the cheap brand. I don't think there's much difference between them these days. And then you pour the apple cider vinegar on top. I poured it halfway, but I'm going to say, as I pour, and I've just made this spell up, you can make your own up. Grant protection from all bad intent. Send it back from where it's sent. Send all evil away from me, by the sacred power of 3, and it harm none, so mote it be. And as I've used the sacred power of 3, I've decided that I'm going to keep this in the jar for 3 weeks. Then I'm going to strain it and put it into a bottle. There's not quite a lot of vinegar in there. I'll just poke those herbs down a bit. I think because it's best to cover all herbs or they tend to go mouldy. Just gonna add a bit more. So there's some white wine vinegar here too. So I'm just going to cover those. Okay, so this is it. This is for Thieves Vinegar. It's a very potent and beneficial force. And the way you can use this is you can use it for banishing, and legend goes you can sprinkle it on the doorstep of somebody who means you harm and evil intent. You can sprinkle it around your own house and that will protect your home. You could sprinkle it on your own doorstep to stop anyone with negative intent from approaching your house. It's very medicinal, so you can take it, and as you eat it you can think of its protective and healing powers. You can sprinkle it on puppets or on a piece of paper with somebody's name on it to send healing to them. And the way I was going to suggest using this is when it's been brewed for 3 weeks and I've decanted it off. What you can do is, if somebody's causing you grief or harm, somebody's sending negative energy to you, what you can do is you can write their name on a piece of paper, but be very careful you know who's causing you bad intent, because if you're not quite sure, don't write somebody's name down that you suspect but you don't really know for sure whether that person is causing trouble. The best thing you could do is write down to whoever is causing trouble doing so and so. Try and be as specific as you can, but don't send negative energy at people you're not sure are causing you trouble. That would be bad. Or if you do know somebody who's directly confronted you and you do know for sure that this person is bothering you, a little spell I did was I wrote down that person's name or those people's name on paper, put it in a jar, covered it in vinegar. You can also use lemon juice, and especially potent is for Thieves Vinegar. Then I took the jar to a fast flowing stream and I threw it in so that the stream took it away from me. I turned my back and I walked away and I did not look back. So you can be creative, you don't have to do everything word for word as people tell you. If you don't want to throw a jar into a stream, and let's face it, throwing glass into a stream is pretty bad. Throwing plastic into a stream is a total no-no. What you can do is you can write their name on a piece of paper, soak it in 4 Thieves Vinegar, and then you can bury it in the earth. Yet again, bury it somewhere far away from you, turn your back, walk away and do not look back. Another thing is you can bury a jar with some vinegar or some lemon juice on a person who's bothering you, their name on a piece of paper, and if you can, you bury the jar somewhere between you and their house, so between your house and between their house, so that the jar stops the malevolent energy from coming towards you. You can also bury a jar by your doorstep, by the front of your house, to ward off any negative energies that may be aimed at your home. So that's it, that's a few suggestions on things you can do which aren't exactly black. They may not be considered white by some people, but in the grey zone maybe. But anyway, as I say, Thieves Vinegar is very healing, so you can actually just take it as a tonic to protect yourself and to boost your own protective powers. You can anoint things with it. You could anoint a talisman, something to protect yourself. And of course, it's your own intent that decides whether something is black or white, it's how you use it. If you want to take something energy away from you, it's a lot easier to karmically do that than to get embroiled in fighting negative energy with negative energy. So the vinegar will sour people's intentions if they mean to harm you, and that was the traditional use of this very potent Thieves Vinegar. So you can leave this aside from anywhere for 1 week to 6 weeks. I'm going to choose 3 weeks for the number of 3. And once you've put it in the jar, you can either leave it in a sunny place, such as your windowsill, and if you're leaving it in your windowsill, it might actually work while it's brewing to keep those energies at bay if they're aimed at you and aimed at your home. Or some people say keep it in a dark place. I'm going to keep mine in the windowsill because the sunlight will infuse the herbs and help to spread the aromas and power of the herbs throughout the mixture. The only time I wouldn't really recommend doing that is if you're using an oil base, in which case you might get a rancid oil. But with vinegar, I think it'll be fine. So when the oil has infused, when the cider vinegar has infused, then the vinegar itself will be at its full potency. But if you haven't got that amount of time to wait, you could do it for a week or as necessary. And if you can't wait, then you can always use cider or apple cider vinegar, any kind of vinegar, or lemon juice. And so that was the basis and history and tradition of using Thieves Vinegar. It can be used for banishing, healing, purification, and just stopping negative energy. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's a very short spell. I intend to do another one soon. There are a few spells for protection, for self-defense really. So if you've got any comments, if you've got anything you would like to hear a spell about, any problems that you're having, you would like a solution to, or anything you have to say about the right and bad use of magic, then please let me know. Please write in the comments below. Thank you for listening. I hope to speak to you all again soon. Cheers, bye.
And I went to the doctor, I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. We go to the doctor, we go to the mountains, we look to the children, we drink from the fountains. We go to the Bible, we go through the workout, we read upon revival, we stand up on the lookout. There's more than one answer to these questions, finding me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source in some definitive, closer I am to find. Closer I am